Hey guys, Sam here, back with another video, and this is Ripping the Boards. Hope you guys are having a good day. Um, it's been a few weeks. A lot has happened in the last few weeks. I won't go into too much detail, but a lot's changed in my life in the last few weeks. And so I was unable to really put out new videos, but I'm back, guys. I know I keep saying I'm back, but I'm still a YouTuber. I'm still doing this thing. Um, and we love to talk about NASCAR here. So let's get right into it. Since I've given you guys a video, we've had 3 mile and a half, so we've also had an all-star race. So man, um, I've been excited about the mile and a half since we've had the next gen package. Um, and it's still producing really good racing. It's just you really see the cream rise to the top with the big teams like the Hendricks, the Gibbs, the Penske's. Um, Even though Penske really hasn't had the wins up to this point that we would expect from them, it's kind of been status quo for the last few years, and look what they've done. They won the championship 3 years running. Every year since we incorporated the next gen, they've walked away with the championship at year's end. So who knows? Man, since I've given you guys a video update, we've had talks of horsepower being added. We've had the Hall of Fame nominees selected for this year. Man, there's a lot to catch up on. I'm gonna have to do multiple videos, but starting with, I would like to talk about how basically the Coke 600 on Sunday, it was a phenomenal race, and it was a phenomenal ending to a great. Um, I don't count Monaco for the Memorial Day, festivities, the racing. It's not. It's in my opinion, Monaco's hasn't been good in a long time, and I don't really even pay attention to it anymore at this point. So I just push that to the side. But the 1100 miles between Indy 500 and the Coke 600, man, it was action packed. You couldn't ask for much more, man. There was so much going on, and I'm excited. I'm also excited that Alex Palou was able to get his first Indianapolis 500 victory. Um, and it was really refreshing to see a new winner, even though he's with Ganassi, so Ganassi gets another Indy 500. But Alex Palou, and just how humble he is, how um, you know soft spoken he is. He doesn't boast about, oh, I'm the best, you know, even though he really is the best right now. He doesn't go about saying it, and I really applaud him for that. So congrats to Alex Palou on that. Um, I didn't really get to see much of the actual racing, but when I went back and looked at the highlights, I was like, man, these guys were slicing and dicing. Like, it's exciting. You just love to see it. And then, but the main event, because I'm a NASCAR guy, got to watch the Coke 600 on Prime. This is the first NASCAR race exclusively on a streaming platform. And I know we have some mixed results on there already. Some people are excited about having a streaming platform now for NASCAR, and all that entails. But we're gonna have it for what, 5 races? So we got it for one already. We got Nashville coming up. We got Michigan, and I believe we have Mexico City, and then Pocono. And we got a nice little lineup there. And I'm excited to see exactly how the Prime broadcast lives up to the hype because they already started off with a bang with the Coke 600. It was a breath of fresh air, especially after having to deal with Fox and somewhat NBC for the last few years. No green flag lap had a full screen caution, and that's really all we asked for. That's really all we could ask for as NASCAR fans. Yes, we understand these big networks and providers, they need to pay the bills, and commercials and getting advertisement out there is a great way that they get their bills paid, because sponsors and advertisers pay big dollars just to put themselves in front of our view. So it's inevitable. It's not like F1 where they could, afford to have a whole broadcast fully, fully funded and commercial free the whole way. We would love to be there, but you can't always get what you want. So I was just so excited to see the Prime broadcast come back. I mean, not come back, but to debut and have a really strong showing in their first broadcast. It was exciting to see Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards as a broadcaster, and they even had a little joke about his little card when he, before he was actual NASCAR driver. He's like, "Oh, if you're looking for a race car driver, you know, I'm your guy," basically. But now they modify. They're like, "Oh, if you're looking for a broadcaster, I'm your guy." I was like, I like that. That's a little cool nugget there, man. We got in the booth. We got Adam Alexander. I believe. I believe we also had Steve Letarte, of course, and my main man Dale Jr. I'm so happy to see Dale Jr. back in the booth. And he has not lost his energy. He's just as excited as he's always been, and I don't know how you could hate Dale Jr. I remember on the NBC broadcast a couple years ago, people were like, "Man, him and Burton, when they get to being excited, you can't really understand what they're saying." I'm like, "Man, you don't need to understand exactly everything someone is saying to understand it's excitement. It's there's a lot going on. It's greatness, you know." So, man, just glad to have it back as a breath of fresh air. These Fox broadcasts, I mean, I think this year was a little bit more palatable. Like, you can withstand it a little bit more besides last year, but still, the fact that we got another contract renewed with Fox is kind of disappointing to me. But enough about the broadcast. Let's get into the actual racing, man. So, even though the race was mostly dominated by William Byron and Denny Hamlin, it was still a lot of racing throughout, and we didn't have a whole lot of cautions, in which I love. But it's a 600-mile race, so you're gonna have a few cautions. It's not just gonna go fully green and green, lean green all the whole way. You're gonna get some cautions. You're gonna get some fatigue, and that's as a racing fan that enjoys pure racing. You could expect that. You expect that from time to time. And I don't want these guys to just be on rails the whole time. When I say I don't like cautions, I don't like unnecessary cautions. I don't like when you know people are getting taken out for no reason, or like they're getting like hard racing goes bad, like on purpose. Like you just wrecking people for no reason, because you're upset or this and that, and doing malicious things, like that. I never will like. But when people are just losing control because they're right on the edge of control, that's what you want to see as a racing fan, And so, you're gonna get those from time to time, and it's good to see. Also, when NASCAR is manipulating races. No one should like to see that. No one, I mean, if you're a real racing fan, you don't like the stage cautions. You don't like the fact that things are just artificially bunching up the field. And, if the field's going to be right on top of each other, let it be because it's a good race and not because the racing product won't allow you to get around anybody. And also because NASCAR keeps throwing cautions to bunch up the field so you can have a closer looking field. It's stupid, but that's what we ask for as racing fans. To If we have cautions, it's because people are losing control, um, or mistakes are being made. Um, but give us that, and so that's mainly what we got on Sunday. We only had a couple dumb cautions, but for the most part, it was just guys they were racing hard, man. I love to see when these guys are racing hard, and they're able to make it work, make it stick, man. We had three wide battles. We had you can use almost anywhere on the track, but once the tires started to age, you would really see the guys start to migrate up the hill towards where the resin was laid down and right up against the wall, because um, if you can get right up against the wall running nice and smooth. Of course, when you're on fresh tires, the bottom, the shortest distance is usually going to be the best way around, but it doesn't always happen that way. There are some times where your car just likes to have a nice, more wide line, and you can able to go around and make some time even on fresher tires. And for one, I love to see that. I love tracks where multi groove racing is the norm, and you don't just get pinned next to each other. You can actually get around each other, and people can get back around. So I love comers and goers. I love comers and goers. I love multi-lane tracks, and Charlotte will give you that for sure, man. Um, it really. You would thought that Denny Hamlin and William Byron were gonna be able to set this amongst themselves, but then if you were paying attention to the ticker, which I tend to do as a NASCAR fan, um, you get to see who is making their way up the running order, and you also get to see who is biting in time towards the leaders. And then if you look in the whole last run, Chastain worked his way back from like 9, 10 seconds back, and so you just call him slowly inching, and then he started getting bigger chunks and bigger chunks. I'm like, at this rate, he's gonna get there. I was like, oh, kill, bro. We gonna get one of them good finishes again. And so, like, when he finally was in range, like, it took a little bit of help to also get there, because Tyler Reddick damn near, you know, lost his car coming off turn two, coming off turn two, one of the final laps, and man, it really sent William Byron for it really sent him for a loop, man. And you're like, man, you didn't know which way Tyler Reddick was gonna go for a second, but you still you still have to get back into a rhythm if you're William Byron, and he just wasn't able to. He wasn't able to maintain what he had, and of course Chastain, his car was fastest in practice yesterday. I mean, the day um, before he wrecked it in practice, and then the backups nowadays they're usually just as good as the primary. So you can call it. You don't really need to call it backup. You can call it 1A, 1B. So you already knew that that one car was going to be fast, and even though he started in the very last position, 40th to first, and that even though I don't really appreciate some of the things that Ross Chastain does on track. I can appreciate a guy that will race hard and that, whatever you had that day for a race car, you knew it. I can appreciate that. And that's why I used to really like him as a driver, because he's gonna go, um, you know, pedal to the metal every time he can, every chance he's got. And so, man, for him to be able to pull that off and still had a few laps. He didn't even have to make the last, the pass on the last lap. He had a few laps to spare, and he was just able to just scoot away enough to where William Byron could not mount a charge back at him. And I'm just like, man, this was a really good race, and it's fitting that we had a good broadcast and a really good race. Almost great, I could say, both ends. And yeah, for today, that's really all I really got to say. I'm gonna probably come back and give you guys an update on the last few weeks, if you haven't been paying attention. But yeah, I'm super excited to be back. Here's another video. Um, Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Let's Talk _NASCAR, where we talk all things racing. And I'll catch you guys next time on the very next video. See you.